Well, hello, strangelings. It's me, Madame Strangeways. I'm so glad you could join me today. I've got 2 new true strange stories for you. An experience in the forests of Appalachia and a case of lost time in the Midwest. And as always, solicited or not, usually not, I share my thoughts and observations after each spooky tale. Now, it's time for you to dim the lights, get cozy, and maybe even get yourself a little snacky snack while I read you these true strange stories here on Madame Strangeways. Story number 1. Hiking the Appalachian Mountains at Night by Anonymous. I joined this group to tell you about a paranormal experience I had while unintentionally hiking in the Appalachian Mountain region. A couple months ago, my friend and I had a spontaneous idea to hike at sunset and eat Subway on the beach. We went to a place called Morse Mountain. We walked the trail for about an hour, and right when we got to the beach, it was just about pitch black outside. We hadn't thought to bring anything but some weed and Subway. No flashlights, or headlamps, or hiking shoes. Dumb idea, I know. Anyway, all was well for the 2 hours we laid on the beach, smoking and eating and talking about life. It was beautiful hearing the waves and seeing a sky full of stars. I started getting tired, so I decided we should head back out. We gathered our stuff and started walking, and both turned on our phone flashlights to guide our way. Not even a minute into the trail, we hear something moving in the forest to our left. I tell my friend to stop, and the sound stops. Immediately when we start walking again, the swishing is there, and it's matching the exact pace we are walking. So we stop again, just to test if the sound is really matching our pace. I was hoping that it was an animal just curious about who we were and would walk away. But the sound, once again, stopped when we stopped. At this point, my heart starts pounding because there's no animal that I know of that is intelligent enough to match the exact pace and exact stops we are making. My friend and I turn our flashlights to the left where the sound is coming from, and I make eye contact with something in the distance that was pale and had dead black eyes and looked like it was standing on its hind legs with terrible posture. My friend and I quickly turn our flashlight to point directly in front of us, and I say, "Please tell me that was an animal. Was it?" And my friend, in a very monotone voice, says, "No, we need to leave. Keep your eyes forward." For the rest of the hike, the trees and branches looked like symbols, and some even like nooses. I felt the forest was telling us to leave, or at least communicating some danger to us. After about an hour, we finally made it back to the car, and I asked my friend if they noticed anything about the trees, and they also described the symbols. My friend called their mom on the drive home, and she said, "I'm just happy you weren't in the Appalachians." The next morning, my friend calls me and just says, "We are idiots. We were in the Appalachians last night." I haven't been able to stop thinking about what we saw that night. I also want to add that my friend and I did not smoke much and are both stoners, so we don't chalk it up to the weed. Any ideas of what I experienced? Honestly, the best part of this story, of this horrifying story, at every level, horrifying for reasons I'll get into. The best part is that your friend's mom was like, you sweet summer children, you were in the Appalachian forest. Come on. Come on. The other horrifying things, aside from seeing this creature that you made eye contact with who was following you through the woods, also just going out into the wilderness. I mean, it's a beach, but come on, into the wilderness with nothing, just a Subway sandwich and some devil's lettuce. Let's just take a moment to acknowledge how lucky and fortunate you and your friend were, considering you got off with just some mild psychological trauma and scarring. How about those symbols that you were seeing in the trees that even kind of looked like nooses? Like, I would be really interested to see like sketches of what you were seeing in the trees. You know, if they were just sort of like amorphous and they just looked ominous, or you know, if you were actually seeing some sort of, you know, like indigenous tribe symbols, or even something from the Scots, what did they call them? Ulster Scots, Irish, something along those lines, the immigrants that settled there. I wonder. I guess we'll never know because it's probably been too long. But if you remember any of those symbols, or if you have any more details on it, I'd love to hear about it. Now back to the creature that you saw, which is probably still haunting your nightmares. I have talked about not deer before, which is like a deer, but not, because it's evil and also trying to probably kill you. I think that those are common. At least I hear that those are common in the Appalachians. So that could be some sort of explanation. When you described it, you know, I don't know that it was necessary to call out its bad posture. Maybe it has a desk job. Maybe it sits at a desk all day. Okay, so let's just lay off. Also very smart of you and your friend to just look straight ahead, act like you don't see anything, and just get the hell out of Dodge. Very smart. Maybe another saving grace for y'all is that you did not whistle in the woods. Maybe it was waiting for you to whistle. Maybe it was lurking, following your footsteps, trying to spook you, just daring you to whistle, and you didn't. That's great. You did a great job. So long as we overlook the fact that you went into the Appalachian forest completely unprepared. For anyone who doesn't know, you are not supposed to whistle in the night in the Appalachian forest. It's supposed to draw evil spirits to you, which I think is actually something that you hear about in a ton of cultures all over the world, which is kind of eerie. And then, two, if something whistles, you are definitely not supposed to whistle back. You know, maybe you can get away with whistling. Don't whistle back, because that's said to be some sort of creature that's like setting a trap for you, and it wants you to whistle back so that it can find you. It's something like, you know, if you talk to the darkness, don't be shocked if it talks back. And I don't want it to be talking back to me, so, or you. So anyone listening, do not interact with any whistling that comes out of, you know what, any dark forest. Just don't whistle back. Interestingly, when I was doing some reading on Appalachia, I discovered that 2 Gothic horror icons wanted to rename the USA from United States of America to United States of Appalachia. And those 2 kings are Washington Irving, who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And if you haven't seen a picture of him, if you haven't seen a picture of Washington Irving, I want you to go ahead, look him up on Wikipedia specifically, and then tell me if Matt Berry would not be perfectly cast to play him. So Washington Irving, this is like 1839, wanted to rename it. And then a little bit later, Edgar Allan Poe also agreed. And he was a big supporter of renaming it to United States of Appalachia, because the logic is Latin America already exists. It's already taken the name America. We don't need to be using America. It's confusing, which I think we can all say people bring that up all the time now. So they were really ahead of their time. Edgar Allan Poe, however, didn't reach popularity until decades after his death. So no one really cared about his opinion at the time. So unfortunately, we are just the United States of America. But there must be a timeline somewhere where we Americans are living in the United States of Appalachia. And there is no whistling allowed after sunset. It's by national decree. Story number 2. Entered a Time Loop by Anonymous. About 10 years ago, right before I moved away for college, I went to a concert in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with my then boyfriend and 2 friends. We lived in Chicago, so we would frequently drive the hour or so to go to an EDM venue there on weekends. This specific time, I drove us there after class on Friday. We got there around 6 or 7 p.m. and left the venue around 11 or 11:30 p.m. Friday night. For a few reasons, broke and young with questionable fake IDs mostly, we decided to opt out of getting a hotel room, even though we had for past visits, so it is strange that we didn't, thinking back, and decided instead to take a nap in my car before driving back to Chicago. Unfortunately, there wasn't exactly a safe spot in this area of Milwaukee to sleep in a parked car at midnight. I realize how absolutely stupid this whole idea was, but I want to recount it accurately. So, we decided I would drive the first half, we would switch places at a gas station halfway through, and my then boyfriend would drive the second half. We decided this after about 1 or 2 hours of trying to make sleeping in the car work. Probably sometime around 2 or 3 a.m. is when we started to head back. After a few switches back and forth and a gas station stop, we made it back to Chicago and parked right outside of my then boyfriend, let's call him Matt's, apartment building, probably around 3:30 to 4:30 a.m. Saturday early morning. We, all 4 of us, Matt in the driver's seat at this point, me in the passenger seat, and our 2 friends in the back, spent probably around 30 to 45 minutes in front of Matt's apartment building, just looking at and sharing photos and videos we took at the concert with each other. While we were all watching a video on my phone, Matt's mom knocked on the window and scared us, as it was still almost completely dark out. Matt's mom worked nights, so she usually got home around 5 or 6 a.m., so it looked like she was just getting off work. She asked us how the concert and drive was and said we were probably exhausted and hungry, and we said we were. She then asked why we decided to stay in the car for that long, and Matt told her we were just looking at pictures and videos from the concert, No big deal. To which she replied, "Did it really take you 2 full days to look at pictures and videos?" We asked her what she meant by that, and she said, "Yeah, you guys have been out here for 2 days. It's Sunday evening." All of us freaked out and started asking a million questions to her and to each other. Why did she not say something sooner? She said she noticed our car there when she left for work Saturday night, but didn't see if we were in it or not and assumed we just parked there and went to my house or one of our friends' houses, and only decided to check to see when my car was still there while she was leaving for work the next day. How did my car still have gas? My car had about 3/4 of a tank at this point, having filled up about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. This was probably the most confusing part to me. I don't know how a car, running full blast AC and idling with the engine on, would not run out of a drop of gas in that amount of time. Could we have all fallen asleep? The fact that there were 4 of us, all independent of each other, makes it hard for me to believe we all fell asleep for 2 full days without ever waking up, deciding to maybe go inside Matt's house or maybe go home. Our 2 friends also had their cars parked at Matt's, so if they were that tired, they could have gotten in their own cars and left. No one used the bathroom, ate, or drank water. Not sure how that worked. I didn't receive a single text or call from my parents. Granted, they didn't exactly hover over me, obviously, but 2 days? Our 2 friends left after we all collectively asked Matt's mom clarifying questions and got sufficiently confused and freaked out. And Matt and I drove to my parents' house 15-ish minutes away. At this point, it was about 9:30 or 10 p.m. Sunday night. We tried to explain to my parents and they didn't believe me. I think they thought I was trying to lie about where I was. Not that it mattered, obviously. All 4 of us were so scared by this event, we never brought it up. Looking back, I sincerely have no idea how this happened. Not sure if we entered a time loop or something of the sort. I would love some insight on this, as I still think about it all the time and fight the urge to call those 3 people to make sure I'm not the only one still thinking about it. Anyone have similar stories or any ideas as to what might have caused this? I am at an utter loss for how to explain this much of it. I can't even use words right because I don't know how to explain it. I think our biggest lesson is kids stay away from EDM, possibly Milwaukee as well. I think we can really just wrap this up with those 2 learnings. Avoid EDM, avoid Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Easy. Okay, thanks so much for listening. No, I don't know. I don't know. It's like that's so much time. So, the simple explanation, aside from aliens, which I suppose is not out of the realm of possibility, the other easy explanation would be maybe it wasn't Sunday. Maybe it wasn't actually Sunday. Like, I think with all your phones, you would easily figure out that it is Sunday, that you did lose time. Time was lost. I understand why you guys don't want to talk about it and haven't, but it would be great if you did. It would be great if you did, though, so that you can update us and let us know, oh yeah, they all remember it the same way, or maybe it was all just a weird dream. Wouldn't that be nice? Even if y'all were drugged, assuming that you didn't take some sort of EDM drug while you were there, which definitely would not explain this amount of time being lost. Even if you were all 4 drugged, It wouldn't have waited until you drove back. It would have happened immediately. So what happened? I'm glad though that it seems like you escaped the situation unscathed. I'm still sorry that y'all had to go through that. I mean, it's terrifying to think about that you can't explain where you've been or how you haven't eaten or peed or drank water. That's what's crazy. How did you? Okay. Let's go back to aliens. Okay, let's go back to everyone's favorite explanation for lost time. You know, if it's not a fugue state, if it's something that's shared between 4 different people, then aliens. Aliens. For those not familiar with the lost time equals aliens explanation, it's said that losing time like that is an indicator that you have possibly been abducted by aliens, or you've had some sort of exposure to what they call non-human intelligence, which does not always necessarily mean actual like little green creatures, little green aliens. Although obviously, if you are into aliens, they are not green, they are gray. They are little and gray, or they are super tall and blonde and Nordic. Just picture the band ABBA. Or on the opposite side of the scale, you have these massive, just gigantic, terrifying praying mantis insectoid type creatures. Personally, I picture Zorak from Space Ghost. And I don't know which ones are responsible for abductions, but if I had to guess, I would guess the Greys. And if I also had to guess, I feel like the Greys would be the most likely race of aliens to enjoy EDM. So that may be how we tie that all together. I guess in the words of the late great Douglas Adams, time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you can feel afraid and not be in danger. Please remember to like and subscribe. It means a lot. Until next time.